being an SDR, as we all know, watching the show, it's a hard job. It's gritty. You got to always be pounding the phones. You got to be always prospecting if you're in an outbound role. And it takes a lot. And sometimes I feel like if I'm getting to know my AEs really well and looking into the later stages of the cycle, like that doesn't directly tie back to my own success currently in the role. And when you're looking around at your SDR team around you and they're always on the phone, they're getting that next opportunity in the pipeline, it doesn't come across your mind as easily to say, okay, maybe I should hit up my AE that I'm working with in Chicago, which is halfway across the country. Like that doesn't immediately come top of mind. So I think that's a main reason why sometimes we don't invest as much in our AE partnership.
What's going on, everybody? This is Morgan J. Ingram here, host of the SDR Chronicles, bringing you motivational advice, strategies, and tactics for your sales development journey, your sales journey, and also your entrepreneurial journey, as I believe that sales development is the vocal point and mantra point of your career and also of your life, because we use sales development every single day. And today I have Andy here from LinkedIn, Senior Learning Solutions Consultant. It's also an SDR for people that are watching the show. And the topic that we're going to go in today is driving SDR success through AE partnerships, figuring out what that really means and making sure that you're aligned with your AE and providing them the right context. So without any further ado, I'm going to let Andy introduce himself a little bit further and why he's excited about the topic today.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Morgan. As you mentioned, my name's Andy Linder. I am a senior sales development rep at LinkedIn based in San Francisco, focusing on our learning solutions business. LinkedIn acquired a company called lynda.com a couple of years ago, an e-learning platform that focuses on professional development skills. Now, since that time, we've been integrating all the content from Lynda into the LinkedIn platform, making it more data-driven and engaging for our clients. So what we'll talk about every day is how do we create a culture of learning at the companies that we're reaching out to drive productivity, retention, and again, to create this culture where people want to learn new skills every day, like what we're talking about here today with Morgan. So thank you again for having me. I'm really excited to talk about how I partner with AEs to drive the success that I'm having.
Yeah, and that's a great question. So the first thing I want to dive into is, when you started off as an SDR, were you taught how to partner with an Undercount Executive?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the way that I'm in an outbound function, so sales, at least at LinkedIn for sales development, is divided into inbound and outbound. So inbound, you're fielding leads that come into your playlist every day from all of our business lines, which can be a lot to handle. Being on the outbound side, I'm segmented to one of our business lines, again, being LinkedIn Learning. So I was given some onboarding, but at the end of the day, I was given a group of 5 AEs that I was going to be partnering with. Really had to get to know each of them individually. They all have very different sales tactics, like ways they go about their business. So yes, I was given this group that were awesome, and my predecessor had given me a little bit of juicy info on each of them. But after that, it was up to me to really build that partnership and understand what they were looking for so that we could both be successful.
Yeah, that's super important, because you have to make sure that from an SDR standpoint, you're giving the AE what they need to be successful, and then also see what they need to do for you at the end of the day. So when you've been partnering with specific AEs as you've been going after your career, what have been some things to gauge or things that you've done to make sure that the AE is successful?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the beginning, I think what's great about the SD role is that we can figure out how to help our AEs prioritize their book of business. And so especially being an outbound, I frankly didn't know, like, how are we going about these 500 accounts in their book that we need to tackle? I know there were A accounts, B accounts, C accounts, but I didn't really know what that meant. So diving in with each of them to understand, okay, let's say they have an existing partnership with LinkedIn already for our recruiting business. Pretty much every company in the world now uses LinkedIn for recruiting. So that was a tactic where we could say, okay, like, I'm on your account team alongside the person that you're already working with for that recruiting business to focus on that second half of the employee life cycle, being learning and development. That was a key point that I had to go over with each of my AEs to say, okay, this could be something that's a natural conversation. It'll help them be successful. And then also, I mean, at the end of the day, something that as SDs we all have to do is to fill our pipeline for our AEs so that they can go in and close deals. So if I was tackling this wide range, sometimes I found a lot of success early on with construction companies. So I said to my AEs, hey guys, I'm going to tackle all of these construction clients for you. I'm going to do all the prospecting, cold calling, emailing, that combination to get them on the phone, have that initial conversation, get them off, get them into my AE's pipeline, and have them be ready to go to sell and to close that deal.
Yeah, and how did you start those conversations? Did you take them out to lunch? What were you doing? Like, hey, what's up? I'm talking to you for like 15 minutes. Like, what were those ways that you got in front of them to make sure that you were understanding where they were coming from?
Yeah, totally. So I wish I could take them all out to lunch. Being here in San Francisco, I have prospects that are everywhere across the country. So getting in early, life of an SDR, I'm in usually about 6:45, 7 o'clock, because that's already 10 a.m. Eastern time. So
Right.
I'm dialing as soon as I get in. The ways to really hook them in, whether it was on a cold call, I was saying, hey, so-and-so, I know I'm calling you out of the blue, but I sent you a couple emails. Did you have a chance to see those? Chances are the answer is always no. And I say, that's all right. I'm here. I know we already partner on the talent acquisition and recruiting side of things, but I'm here to talk about retention and the ways that you're developing your employees into leaders at your organization. That was a good hook in. They're like, oh, maybe I am, maybe I'm not helping my employees be as successful as they can be. So that was a good way of hooking them in. And on the email side of things, one thing that I use well, if you're familiar with lynda.com, the platform that we acquired, is that you can be a consumer of the platform. Just anybody, if Morgan Ingram wants to get a license to lynda.com and now LinkedIn Learning, we can track all that data to say, okay, this is what one of your employees for JBarrows training that, Morgan is watching courses on leadership and management and how to be a more effective salesperson, operations, whatever it may be. So that can get them going. I can say, hey, I know that 50 of your employees are already engaging with our platform. Let's talk about how we bring this enterprise wide. So those were a couple ways that I really engaged my prospects to say, okay, this is something that they need to talk to me about.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And because you want to make sure that when you're an SDR, you're setting yourself up for success, you're setting your AEs up for success, and you pretty much have to be aligned with your AE, because they're gonna give feedback to their manager like, hey, is this SDR good or not? So how do you make sure to maintain that relationship when you know that the AE is that second manager per se, the person who's really going to give you that validation to move to the next step?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of my main goals heading into SD. As an SDR, I want to know if a closing role is going to be right for me and my next step, because frankly, I didn't know coming in. So with my AEs being sort of a second manager of sorts, they could easily give me feedback on how my qual calls were going. One of my AEs is famous for asking the prospect as their first question, like, how did your call with Andy go? And then that was a great way of figuring out, okay, how much discovery did I do on my end? How much was I talking about LinkedIn Learning? Early on in my career, maybe I'm talking more than I should on the phone. I think we're all sometimes a product of that. But then even just pinging them or hitting them up on either email or we use Microsoft Teams, since LinkedIn is now a Microsoft company. So always just displaying my genuine interest in their success. They did the same and were able to give me good feedback for professional development as well. Especially if, maybe they want to be managers one day, sales managers. I have a couple AEs who had actually applied for my SDR manager's job in San Francisco. So that was a great opportunity to get to know my AEs really well so that they could be a key contributor for my success as well.
Yeah, and I know that for you upcoming that you're going to move to the next role, that's where you're looking to go. So talk a little bit about how you're talking with other AEs to figure out your selling style and how their styles may be different than what you ever thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what's so cool about a company like LinkedIn, especially in our global sales organization, is that people come from all walks of life. Our SVP solutions, his name is Mike Gamson. He's based in our Chicago office. He says, I don't hire salespeople. I hire business leaders who truly believe in evangelizing our products. And I wouldn't be in a sales role unless I truly believe that every day every member in the global workforce can benefit from our products. So figuring out what my selling style is like, I'm a relationship guy. I love just truly getting to know the people that I'm speaking with. And one of my AEs, his name is TJ, he does this really well. He'll just get to know the person and what they care about before even talking about LinkedIn, or frankly, even learning and development, if that's the space that we're talking about. So that's what I'm going to try to emulate, is to figure out, okay, who is this person that I'm speaking with? What are their metrics for success? And then again, at the end of the day, they're only going to go to their CEO with a vendor and a product like what we have if they truly believe in it as well. So I think digging into that first, those have been my conversations so far, is figuring out, okay, like I know process is really important, filling my pipeline, etc. But at the end of the day, if I can figure out those people that I know that I can connect with through a social selling type format, that's going to be my key driver in my next role, being an account executive.
And how do you determine who you're going to talk to?
In terms of prospects?
No, not prospects, just in terms of just from an AE perspective. And then also and that's an additional question onto that. After you talk to an AE, how do you determine who you're going to prospect?
Yeah, totally. So in terms of just the AEs that I'm speaking with right now to gauge like, okay, what's my next role going to look like? I'm going to the top performers. Frankly, I want to know like how the top performers in my next role are going about their business to be extremely successful. For instance, we get a mix of inbound deals that will come in. People are obviously really interested in LinkedIn's newest product, LinkedIn Learning. But on the flip side of that, the average selling price, or ASP, of the highest deals are the ones that are sourced outbound. So I'm going to the rep, the AE1, the SMB rep for LinkedIn Learning, who it really did those inbound deals extremely well. Get them in, understand what they need, get them out, get on to the next. On the flip side, the people who prospect really well, and that's something that I take pride in. Obviously, being an SDR, I'm prospecting every day.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I know that as an AE, I'll have a lot of other responsibilities as well. There's actually a woman who used to be on my team, and she's known to be the best, having the most outbound discovery calls of any AE in our organization. So I say, hey, Nikki, I want to know exactly how you're going about this process so that you can fill your pipeline, be strategic and efficient. And she's the one who says, Andy, it's the same thing as what you're doing as an SDR. It's figuring out, okay, who spends the most with LinkedIn currently? Which industries are hot for us right now, where our library of e-learning courses tailors really well to those. And then finally, it's finding the people that you can get those warm intros to. So maybe these are prospects where you know that the CEO went to your school. We have a product at LinkedIn called Sales Navigator that helps you find those people for the warm intros. And then you can get that easy way in to have these conversations that are the quote unquote low-hanging fruit for the deal that we're going to get.
Yeah, I think that's important. You have to build those partnerships to get those low-hanging fruit. And also, you're gonna get advice that you normally wouldn't because you're being proactive. So tell us a little bit about some intriguing things that you've learned from different AEs as you've continuously built these partnerships.
Yeah, totally. So I can go through just the list of my 5 AEs that I've worked with over the last year. And each of them has a very different style, but they can all be really successful.
Okay.
One, Victoria, she's based in our Chicago office, which is sort of our sales hub for all of LinkedIn. Yes, the company is based in San Francisco, but we have a huge sales presence in Chicago. She will go after all of our Midwest prospects first. And she's said, Andy, if I have a deal where I need to just go simply in downtown Chicago to meet with the VP of HR, I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend that extra time going straight to the decision makers, getting in front of them, and then selling them from there. And it's easier, again, to build that partnership in person when you're not just a voice behind a blue jeans is what we call it, or WebEx or whatever it is. Erin Crawford, she's based in our Carpinteria, Santa Barbara office. She's really good at understanding the person and their role in their industry. So she will put herself in the shoes of our prospect to know exactly what they care about. With LinkedIn's data, we have a lot of reports on, let's say, financial services or construction or telecommunications, retail, etc. She has gotten to know those industries so well to know what skills are important, again, being a learning and development platform that we have to make those employees succseful. TJ, I mentioned him earlier here. He's also based in Santa Barbara. What he's really good at is, again, that relationship piece, getting to know the person really well and making them feel so comfortable. He's a SoCal guy. And I was even shadowing one of his demos where a prospect asked him, "Hey, TJ, what cars do you drive? Like, I just want to be you." And which is awesome. But that's what he's so good at, is just getting to know that person. And then they feel bad not responding to one of his emails or picking up the phone when he calls.
Yeah.
Aaron Sheridan Coons. I have two Aarons. One who's also based in Santa Barbara. She's just a very tactical salesperson. She's on the enterprise side with a lot of really cool companies in her book. And so what she does really well is she'll hunt extremely well. And at first I was scared. I said, "Aaron, you got to give me a couple of your accounts to prospect or else I'm not going to have a job."
Yeah.
But what she'll do is she'll say, "Andy, I got this small inbound deal for a graphic design department. Like, bring it out to the whole company. Tell them that, there's an employee interested in what we have to offer. This should be something that's on an organization-wide platform. This should be something on everyone's radar." And then finally, Nas, he's my final AE, also based in Santa Barbara at the lynda.com headquarters. And he used to be a musician. He used to be on the higher ed side of things. He's still a musician. Wow. But yeah, so he's really good at selling to higher ed, which is really tough to just get into. And so he's really good at saying, okay, who are all the decision makers within an organization that I'm going to have to loop in to get this deal done? So those are all the different ways that I sort of approach my book. Again, they're all very different, and I've learned
for sure
from them. But it's been really cool to figure out how those strategies come into play.
Yeah, and it's pretty intriguing coming from you, because you learned so many different things, and you were able for each person to distinguish why they're successful and what you've taken from them. So you obviously learned a lot, and that makes you great in your role. And when you get to the next role, it's going to make you great as well. But why do you believe most people don't take the time to build those partnerships and build the relationships like you have?
Yeah, it's a great question, Morgan. So I think what I've found is that being an SDR, as we all know, watching the show, it's a hard job. It's gritty. You got to always be pounding the phones. You got to be always prospecting if you're in an outbound role. And it takes a lot. And sometimes I feel like if I'm getting to know my AEs really well and looking into the later stages of the cycle, like that doesn't directly tie back to my own success currently in the role. And when you're looking around at your SDR team around you and they're always on the phone, they're getting that next opportunity in the pipeline, it doesn't come across your mind as easily to say, okay, maybe I should hit up my AE that I'm working with in Chicago, which is halfway across the country. Like that doesn't immediately come top of mind. So I think that's a main reason why sometimes we don't invest as much in our AE partnerships. And I'd say it doesn't need to be an outbound function. Even if you're inbound, if there's an AE that you tend to pass deals along to that responds really well to those, wants to get to know you, like take that 30 minutes of coffee instead of just meeting with your team. Like you'll be around your team all the time. Go to the common room, go to the kitchen, and get to know that AE if you can. Maybe they went to your school, maybe they want to be a manager one day and they want to invest in your success. I think there are all these reasons why they will care about you. You just need to take that extra time and know that it will pay off later on.
Yeah, no, I agree. As long as you get information from other people, you'll be able to pay it off. Have you found that learning from these AEs have helped you directly in your SDR role? Or have you found that because you know so much, you start talking too long on the phone?
That's a great question. No, sometimes I do talk too much, and I probably am here today. I hope you all don't mind my voice here, especially you, Morgan. But no, I don't. I think they do absolutely help me in my role all the time. Especially I mentioned Erin Sheridan Coons, one of my AEs. She's really good at giving me leads. They're essentially inbound leads where she'll get somebody who's interested in maybe a group of 5 to 10 licenses when there could be an opportunity for 1,000. Where I can get to a VP of HR or even a COO where they're going to care about this on an enterprise level. So I think I need that feedback to say, okay, this company, this large retail company is huge. We need to get after them. So I think they will directly tie into my success a lot. And I schedule weekly one-on-ones for accounts, the top 25, like what are the ones they're most they want to best get into as soon as possible. That's a good start for me to know which ones to prospect. So I'm not going in as blindly, like let's say when I get through all the A accounts or all the construction accounts, et cetera.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Because I find that when I was managing SDRs, when they were getting closer to promotion, they knew a lot. So they started talking a lot. So their 2-minute conversions to get into a demo would be like 10-minute conversations. And I'd be like, what they're saying is right, but it's just, hey, look, like you're not trying to sell them right now. You're just trying to get them on an appointment. So I just found the reason I asked that question is because I found that the more knowledge they got, the more they would talk, and the more they talk, the more they would be losing out on time to make other calls. So that's why I asked that question.
Right. Yeah, it's a good question.
And so going into the next question, and I think this is important because a lot of people are hearing you from an internal perspective. We've learned a lot of different things, but are you talking to AEs outside of your organization to get more insights than just from LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, with LinkedIn being a 6,000 person organization, yeah, there are a lot of people to talk to. So I'll give one example of internally at LinkedIn that's outside of my direct organization, as well as one completely externally.
Right.
So I stumbled upon, it was kind of lucky that I found the former #1 AE in North America for our talent solutions or recruiting business. This guy's name is Austin. He's also based in San Francisco. I ran into him at an improv show just in the area. I'd recognized him. I was like, hey, do you work at LinkedIn? And he said, yeah, I do. And I had stalked his profile during the show, and being the weird person that I am. And but after the show, I went up to him and I said, hey, Austin, I see that you were extremely successful in your AE role. Do you mind if we talk just about process? I know you might not know as much about LinkedIn Learning. I can get that squared away for when I'm an AE, but I want to know exactly like how you went about your book to be extremely successful. How is your follow-up strategy? How is your prioritization strategy? What does your Excel sheet look like? I was like, put it on the screen. Like, I want to see this. So that's what I went to him about. I also went to externally. There are a lot of people who come to LinkedIn from a company called CEB. They do a lot of sales training. And so CEB is an awesome company, and they even do the Challenger sale. So I wanted to know exactly like what that looks like, because, you know, me being more of a relationship guy, I'm not as good at hounding somebody and coming back at them with reasons why they should care when sometimes they may give me a no. Right. So I have a friend who works at CEB in Chicago, having gone to school there. And I was like, hey man, I would love to talk to just one of the most successful reps who's there that you work with. And he was like, yeah, I got this guy who's just extremely good at that Challenger sale piece. So I think that's external information that I can bring into my process, where I can get so bogged down in just being that LinkedIn guy and just only seeing, you know, what's at the office, when there's so much more out there, people who are being successful in sales and in an AE role, that I'm now excited about that opportunity to hunt, to get after it when I'm there.
Awesome. Well, Andy, this is a great time to wrap it all up. I think people got a lot of knowledge from this episode. So last question I ask every single person that comes on the show is, what is your #1 piece of advice for people that are entering into their SDR role?
#1 advice, always be prospecting. Always be getting after it. You don't have any pipeline unless you're getting prospects into your funnel. So sometimes, you know, take the day off from calling and just prospect if you need to get those people set and go, because, you know, at the end of the day, you'll regret it if there's no one there for you to call, and you can't call without prospecting. So I would say always be filling your pipeline, and you'll be good to go.
Sounds good. Well, Andy, thank you so much for hopping on the SDR Chronicles today. As I always say, guys, keep dialing, and I'll see you guys soon.